Okay. So, I mean, you often hear, when you're trying to put together a balanced, healthy lifestyle that, we should be balanced in our approach, and we shouldn't completely remove anything from our diet, especially from one of the main food groups. So is this the same for sugar? Sugar is available in many forms. You have brown, you have white, you have the ones in between. So which should we avoid? Which should we actually use? Okay. So the effects of sugar are also found in maple syrup and honey, right? So the same thing that your body will do when you have refined white sugar, there's also a similarity when you are also having these less refined sugars. Okay. Now, more than ever, we are consuming so much more of it. Okay. So this seems to be one area that is cause for concern, because the UK and the US are actually, two of the largest consumers. Okay, so what is sugar? Right, let's get down to it, right? Because with these sessions, I like to break things down into as simple and easy to understand health information as possible, right? This is what I want. I want the mothers to really understand health in a very basic way, but to an extent that they know why they're taking these changes on, and they are then able to implement that in their lives, and then be a really good example for their children and explain it to their children too. So sugar, it actually contains no nutrients. Okay, we're talking about the refined white stuff here. Okay, no proteins, no healthy fats, no enzymes. And what it actually does is that it pulls minerals from the body during digestion. So those vital nutrients, they're pulled out of healthy cells to make use of that sugar. So what does sugar do, right? So it makes the blood thick and sticky, and so it prevents optimal blood flow. This blood flow, you need it everywhere, especially like gums and teeth. Okay, so your gums and teeth are going to need these vital nutrients, but sugar is going to pull it out of them. White refined sugar is actually considered a pure chemical. It's purer, purer than even cocaine. Okay, so there's many types, right? You probably looked at the back of a food pack, something in the supermarket, and wondered what is all this on it, right? You might have seen the words monosaccharides, okay? And they are simple sugars, right? And they usually end with OSE, so like dextrose, fructose, glucose, okay? And the body deals with each of them a little bit differently. Then you've got your normal refined white sugar, or sometimes they call it table sugar. Okay, now this is half glucose and half fructose. Okay, and then you've got your syrups, like corn syrups. I think there's rice syrups as well in the UK now, and also in the US there's like the high fructose corn syrup, and that's actually 55% fructose, 45% glucose. Then you've got your sugar alcohols like xylitol, glycerol, and the other ones that end with the OL, like mannitol, erythritol. Okay. They are not sugars and they're not alcohols like ethanol. Okay. But they have increasingly become popular as sweeteners. Now, the problem with these are they're actually 10 times sweeter than sugar, and they're completely absorbed from the small intestines. They provide fewer calories. That's why you see them being touted as like healthier options. But what actually happens with these is that they actually cause problems like diarrhea, bloating, and there hasn't been too many studies on them in terms of like long-term effects, especially in a high dosage for adults and children. So this is the issue with them. Now, you may also find in the UK something like Splenda. Now, Splenda isn't sugar. It's an artificial sweetener, much like aspartame, which you may have heard of, to avoid, right? And it has the same sort of harmful health effects. So when you see Splenda and it's advertised as maybe, this is a healthier option, it's actually not, okay? Another one that's even recommended, I've seen, is Agave. Now, this is probably falsely advertised as natural because it's highly processed. I mean, to such an extent that the end product is really far away from the actual agave plant, and it's 80% fructose. Okay, then you have honey, okay, which is 53% fructose. But now with honey, obviously we know from the sunnah, there's benefits in there. And in its raw form, it does have many health benefits. Then you've got stevia, okay, or stevia. Now it's a sweet herb that's derived from a leaf. Okay, it's safe in its natural form. Some do actually find it bitter. Okay, so this is why, people don't tend to use much of it. So these are just some of the main types that you're going to find in a supermarket, right? So now we've got this issue. Is there a safe limit? Okay, now all sugar is sugar. Now this is something that I find a lot with a lot of people asking me questions about, okay, what's the alternative if we, get rid of refined white sugar? What should we use? Now, everything is, going to affect your body the way sugar does. It's going to have to be processed. Now, either it's going to be dealt with in your liver, okay, which is things like fructose, or it's going to be used by the body, which is what glucose tends to do, right? Is there a safe limit? Now, for refined white sugar, I could happily say no, okay? Now, what about sugars that are found naturally then? The ones in fruit and some vegetables? What about those? Is there a safe limit? Is there an amount that we should have and an amount that we should avoid, right? Well, the thing with fruits and vegetables, right? They also have other components in it, like fibers, vitamins, and enzymes. And the reason why they are better in a sense is that they actually slow down that sugar digestion. It doesn't just hit your body, okay? But even with natural ones in sugar, there has to be context, okay? If you're just going to be suddenly giving your children fruit all day long, that isn't going to be ideal, all right? And, now in the times that we live, we could happily get mangoes all year round. But is that the right thing to be doing, to be having like mangoes in the middle of winter? Okay, so probably a more sensible approach would be, eating seasonally, okay, and to be in line with your body and listening to what your body needs, okay. So yeah, you have to be quite careful because the way that we are created, we naturally gravitate towards sweet things. Breast milk is sweet, okay, and it is actually a survival mechanism that is in us, that is Allah has put in us, okay. But we have to be careful because especially with children, you want to nurture that palate. You don't just want everything to just be sweet all the time, so that now when they have to try something else and it isn't sweet, they struggle to eat those things. They struggle to eat bitters, they struggle to eat savory, okay. So some of the main harms of processed sugar, why should we avoid it? Okay, so damage to the liver, right? Fructose has to be digested by the liver, okay? And now it's really common for many people to have liver damage without having had any alcohol in their diet. Before it was only those who were alcoholics who had liver damage, but now you're seeing a lot of non-alcoholic fatty disease. It's on the up. It increases, right, this refined white sugar, it increases your bad cholesterol, okay. It can contribute to cravings, weight gain, and sleep issues, okay. It actually creates an addictive response in the brain. And I'm sure many of you may have heard the studies that were carried out on rats where, they were offered sugar and they were offered cocaine. And, they actually chose, I think they said about 95% chose sugar over cocaine. So that's the level, that it actually affects your brain, okay. It actually affects your response, that addictive response, okay. having too much of it in your diet encourages you to eat more. Okay. Right. Okay. So what are some practical things that you can do today to actually battle these cravings? And I did want to actually go through. Maybe we'll do that next week. We'll see, inshallah. I'll discuss it with Ruqayya. But to actually give you a breakdown of how to practically battle these cravings. Okay. So some things that were mentioned that I've seen, and actually I've tried a couple of these myself. One of them is the L-Glutamine Supplementation. Now this has been shown to help cravings, to help sugar cravings. Okay, now how? Okay, L-glutamine is actually an amino acid. Now, amino acids, they get severely depleted from the body through stress and poor diet. So this researcher said when you're stressed out, you're not eating well, that's just going to cause intense sugar cravings, and short-term supplementation of L-glutamine can actually help. I was actually recommended to take L-glutamine by it's L-glutamine, Zara, the name. I was recommended by a naturopath to take this for a while, and she mentioned in relation to gut health. And subhanAllah, I did find that my sugar cravings decreased. So obviously this isn't something you want to be on long term. You do want to work with a practitioner, to make sure it is something that you can include in your diet quite easily. Another thing that can actually help battle cravings are eating more protein and good fats, okay? Because, what tends to happen is that if you're just filling yourself up with carbs, or you've got excessive sugar in your diet, you're not having enough room to have these proteins and good fats that are helping to balance things out in your body. Okay, there just isn't room. You just don't feel like having it. Proteins will balance your hormones, and that's vital for crushing those sugar cravings. Okay, another tip is exercise, because exercise and moving your body, and that movement, it actually releases the same hormones that you get. Oh, don't know what happened there. Okay, so exercise actually releases the same hormones that you would feel and that you would receive from eating sugar. So it's actually vital, and it doesn't have to be anything major. It can be a simple thing like a brisk walk. Okay. Another step that you can actually take is sleep. Now, we've mentioned sleep before in another section, another episode that we did in these health bite-size lessons. And it's a really easy way to rectify many health issues. It's vital for balancing your blood sugar levels, because one night, and that will actually lead to regards to health. Choices in tired, you just need, okay, let me plan a healthy meal. You're going to turn to sugar. You're going to turn to the point is to make sure that what happens is that you're having a lot of stress in your deplete for a number of functions rated. Actually thirst. So, they said have a drink it. Your body has to keep you energized. So can you say a few tips and, to try to help